That coffee maker on your counter right now. The one that runs before your eyes are open. Researchers at the Quadram Institute in England pulled 60 bags of ground coffee off store shelves and ran them through a lab. 1 in 10 labeled 100% Arabica came back loaded with Robusta, a cheaper bean that costs half as much to grow. The brand you are going to be angriest about is owned by one of the largest food corporations on the planet. They told America they had gone pure Arabica. The price never came down. I will show you 2 words on any coffee label that tell you in 5 seconds whether your bag is honest. 9 to throw out and 5 that earned your trust. Counting down from the one worth the least to the one that lied the most. Number 14, great value, classic roast. If you have ever walked through a Walmart, you have seen this can. The yellow label, the low price, the words classic roast in a font designed to feel familiar and trustworthy. Great value is Walmart's store brand, which means it sits on the shelves of more than 4,700 stores across the United States alone. And some of their coffee products do say 100% Arabica right on the front. They're Colombian, they're donut shop, they're French roast. But flip over the classic roast and look at the ingredients line. It does not say 100% Arabica. It says coffee, just the word coffee. That is because the classic roast, along with their espresso pods, is made from a blend of Arabica and Robusta beans. The distinction is not an accident. When a company can print 100% Arabica on some products and chooses not to print it on others, they are telling you exactly what is in the bag. They are just telling you quietly. Think of it like a restaurant advertising fresh-caught fish on 3 dishes and saying nothing about the 4th. You do not need a lab to figure out what the 4th one is. The motive is margin. Robusta beans are cheaper to source, easier to grow, and produce a higher yield per acre. When you are selling 32 ounces of ground coffee for under $7, cutting your bean cost by even 15% adds up across thousands of stores. The coffee still works. It still makes a brown cup of something caffeinated. But it is not what the bag beside it promises, and the label does not volunteer the difference. A brand that has been losing customers for a decade sits right behind it, and the beans might be part of the reason. Number 13, Yuban. Yuban has been around since 1853, which makes it one of the oldest coffee brands still sitting on an American grocery shelf. For most of its life, it was considered a premium name. Your grandmother may have served it to company. Today, it is owned by Massimo Zanetti Beverage, the same Italian conglomerate that produces Chock full o' nuts and Hillsborough. The difference is what is inside. If you turn a canister of Yuban around, you will find that it uses a blend of Arabica and Robusta beans. There is nothing illegal about that. But what the label does not say is how much of each. There is no regulation in the United States requiring coffee brands to disclose the ratio. A bag could be 80% Arabica and 20% Robusta, or the reverse, and the word blend covers both. What the 2018 Quadram Institute study found is that Robusta adulteration is not rare. When researchers tested 60 retail samples, 6 came back suspicious, with 1 sample clocking in at a third Robusta by weight. Yuban is not accused of adulteration, but when you pay for a brand with 170 years of heritage, and the bag does not tell you what percentage of the coffee is the cheap bean, it is a little like buying a wool sweater that turns out to be mostly polyester. The tag says, blend, and you are expected not to ask. One of the good brands on this list has been printing 100% Arabica on every bag since before the Civil War ended. We get there in about 12 minutes. A brand sitting in your parents' kitchen since the 70s has never once claimed to be pure, either. Number 12, Hillsborough's Original Blend. Hillsborough's has been in the coffee business since 1878. They were the first company to vacuum pack ground coffee in 1900, a genuine innovation that changed how America stored and shipped beans. For decades, that was their identity, the company that kept coffee fresh. Today, Hillsborough is also owned by Massimo Zanetti Beverage, the same parent company behind Yuban and a handful of other brands you will recognize. And like Yuban, the original blend uses a mix of Arabica and Robusta beans. Their perfect balance half-calf uses a blend too. You can find 100% Colombian in their lineup. And that one does say 100% Arabica, but the flagship product on the shelf, the one with the red can and the name that has been in American kitchens for 140 years, does not. The pattern here is worth noticing. Massimo Zanetti controls at least 3 major American coffee brands, and in all 3 flagships, the Robusta is there. A 2025 systematic review in Science Direct, covering 27 separate studies on coffee fraud, found that Arabica substitution with cheaper Robusta remains one of the most widespread forms of food fraud in the world. The researchers noted that supply chain opacity makes it particularly hard to trace. When a single parent company owns multiple brands and blends its beans across a shared supply chain, the question is not whether they are adding Robusta. The question is how much. It is a little like a lumber yard selling pine and oak from the same pile and calling everything hardwood. The bins look the same. The price does not. The biggest instant coffee brand on the planet does not even pretend to hide what is in the jar. Number 11. Nescafé House Blend. Nescafé is owned by Nestlé, a company that reported over $94 billion in global revenue in 2023. They hold more than a quarter of the worldwide instant coffee market. When you walk through the coffee aisle at virtually any grocery store in America, a Nescafé jar is sitting there. Their house blend, one of their best-selling products, states it plainly on the label. Made from a blend of premium Arabica and Robusta coffee beans. They source from Ethiopia, Brazil, and Vietnam. The Vietnam part matters. Vietnam is the world's largest Robusta producer, responsible for roughly 15% of all coffee grown on Earth, and nearly all of it is Robusta. When a company lists Vietnam as a sourcing origin for a blended product, the Robusta is not incidental. It is structural. Nescafé is not hiding anything here. The label says blend. But what the label does not communicate to the average buyer is what that blend costs them in the cup. Arabica futures in early 2025 hit $4.30 per pound, a 47-year record high. Robusta was trading around $2.58. That gap, roughly 40% cheaper for Robusta, is the reason blending exists at scale. It is the same reason a furniture store sells a table described as solid wood, when the top is veneer over particle board. The expensive material is present. It is just not the whole story. Nestlé could sell a 100% Arabica instant coffee tomorrow. They have the supply chain and the shelf space. They choose the blend because the margin on Robusta, multiplied across billions of jars sold worldwide, is worth more to the company than the words on the label are worth to you. The brand at number 4 has been sourcing 100% Arabica from around the world since 1853. We are about 10 minutes away. A brand that inspires fierce loyalty in millions of homes built its entire reputation on boldness, not purity. Number 10. Café Bustelo Original Espresso. Café Bustelo is one of those brands that people do not just buy. They defend it. It has a dedicated following in Latino communities across the country, and it has crossed over into mainstream grocery aisles at every major retailer. The yellow and red can is iconic, but what the FAQ page does not broadcast is that the traditional Café Bustelo Original Espresso is made from a blend of Robusta and Arabica beans. Multiple sources describe the original as Robusta heavy, meaning the cheaper bean is likely the majority of what is in that can. They do make a product called Supreme that is labeled 100% Arabica, and their newer packaged ground coffee lineup, which launched more recently, also uses Arabica. But the flagship, the one that fills kitchens from the Bronx to Miami, is the espresso-style original, and that one is a blend. Here is the test I promised you. Pick up any bag or can of coffee in your kitchen right now. Look at the front of the label. Then flip it over. You are looking for two words. 100% Arabica. If the label says premium blend, or fine coffee, or just the word coffee with no qualifier, there is Robusta in that bag. Every company that uses 100% Arabica beans prints it on the packaging because it is a selling point. The ones that do not print it are telling you something by staying quiet. That silence is the answer. The Bustelo Original costs about $4 for a 10-ounce brick. The Supreme, the one that is actually 100% Arabica, costs close to $7 for the same amount. The price gap between the two products tells you exactly how much the bean switch is worth to the company. A brand name alone does not tell you what country your coffee came from. What you are about to hear proves that. Number 9. Magnum Exotics Kona Blend. Kona coffee is grown in one place on Earth, the Kona district on the Big Island of Hawaii. The volcanic soil, the elevation, the humidity, all of it combines to produce one of the most prized coffees in the world. Real Kona costs $20 to $50 per pound. So when you see a bag labeled Kona Blend on a grocery shelf for $11, something does not add up. In 2019, 3 small Hawaiian coffee farms filed a federal lawsuit against 22 major companies, including Magnum Exotics and its parent company L&K Coffee. The allegation was that these companies were using the word Kona to sell coffee that was not from Kona. L&K settled for $6,150,000 to $3. The total settlements across all defendants exceeded $21 million. Under the terms, L&K agreed to change its labeling to no longer imply the coffee came from the Kona region. Hawaii state law allows a product to be called a Kona blend if it contains just 10% Kona beans by weight. 10%. The other 90 could be anything from anywhere. That is like a jeweler selling you a ring as a gold blend when it is 90% brass. The word blend does the legal work. It protects the seller. But for the buyer standing in the aisle, Kona blend sounds like Hawaii. It sounds like $50 beans at a fraction of the price. And that is exactly the point. You are paying a premium for a name without getting the product behind it. There is one brand on the good list at number 2 that sources from real regions and names them honestly on the bag. That one is about 8 minutes away. An Italian name that carries a century of credibility earned its reputation, but not every product in the lineup lives up to it. Number 8. Lavazza Qualità Rossa. Lavazza was founded in Turin, Italy in 1895. The family has been in the coffee business for 4 generations. When Americans see that name on a bag, they think Italian quality, espresso culture, something authentic. And some Lavazza products earn that trust. Their espresso line is labeled 100% Arabica, sourced from South America and Africa. But their Qualità Rossa, one of their best-selling blends worldwide, is not. The bag says it clearly. Arabica and Robusta. Their Super Crema, another popular product, also uses a blend. In the Italian tradition, this is intentional. Many Italian espresso blends include Robusta for body and crema, the foam on top of a properly pulled shot. But the issue is not whether the blend is traditional. The issue is whether the American buyer understands what they are paying for. A bag of Lavazza Qualità Rossa retails for about $9 per pound. A bag of their 100% Arabica espresso costs about the same. So the premium image is doing the work, not the beans. It is a little like a tailor selling 2 suits at the same price, one wool and one a poly blend, and hoping you assume the Italian label means both are wool. Lavazza at least prints what is in the bag on the back, and that puts them ahead of companies that simply write coffee and leave it there. You can find Qualità Rossa at Target, Walmart, and most major grocers shelved right next to the 100% Arabica espresso at the same price. If a shopper sees 2 Lavazza bags at $9 each and grabs the Rossa because the packaging looks the same, the brand benefits from the confusion. The honest product and the blended product share a shelf, a price, and a name. But when that name carries a century of credibility, the fine print on the back should not be the only place honesty lives. The single most purchased coffee in America is next. And what they did in 2015 was something their customers never noticed. Number 7. Folgers Classic Roast. Folgers has been the best-selling ground coffee in the United States since the early 1990s. The best part of waking up. You know the jingle. You have heard it 1,000 times. The red canister is in millions of kitchens from coast to coast. Folgers has never claimed that their classic roast is 100% Arabica. That is not the accusation. What they did was change the ratio. According to multiple industry sources and confirmed through customer service inquiries, Folgers altered the blend in their classic roast around 2015. Before that change, the recipe was roughly 60% Arabica and 40% Robusta. After, it flipped. 40% Arabica, 60% Robusta. They increased the cheap bean and decreased the good one. And they did it without changing the packaging. The can looked the same. The price stayed roughly the same. The name stayed the same. The coffee inside was materially different. Their parent company, J.M. Smucker, reported over $8 billion in net sales in fiscal year 2024. They own Jif, Milk-Bone, and Meow Mix alongside Folgers. The coffee brand is a revenue line in a portfolio, and when Robusta costs roughly 40% less per pound than Arabica, flipping the ratio across millions of cans is an enormous margin play. If you bought your grandmother the same red can in 2014 and then again in 2016, she was not drinking the same coffee. Nobody told her. It is a little like a paint store, quietly thinning the formula and selling the same gallon at the same price. The bucket looks identical. What is inside covers less. The brand at number 1 costs less per pound and uses nothing but specialty-grade Arabica. We are about 12 minutes from it. The last brand on the avoid list is the one I mentioned at the beginning, and this one was personal for a lot of families. Number 6, Maxwell House Original Roast. For about $7, you can buy a 30-ounce can of Maxwell House Original Roast at nearly any grocery store in America. That is the brand I was talking about at the start of this video. In 2007, Maxwell House made a public announcement. Reuters covered it. MarketWatch reported on it. The company declared it was switching to 100% Arabica beans, a quality upgrade to compete with the specialty coffee wave that Starbucks had started. The message to consumers was clear. We hear you. We are using better beans now. And for a while, they did. The packaging reflected it. But somewhere along the way, quietly, the blend changed back. If you look at Maxwell House Original Roast listed on major retail and brewing platforms today, the product description reads, made with a blend of Arabica and Robusta coffee beans. Multiple coffee industry comparison sites have documented the reversal. The company, now owned by Kraft Heinz, a corporation with over $25 billion in annual revenue, made a promise in 2007 and walked it back without a press release, without an announcement, without so much as an updated tagline. Good to the last drop, stayed on the can. What was in the can did not stay the same. It is a little like a restaurant putting "now using real butter" on the menu, winning customers back, and then switching to margarine 2 years later and hoping nobody tastes the difference. Your grandmother may have switched to Maxwell House because of that 2007 announcement. That promise is the reason some people still buy it today. And the promise no longer reflects the product. Every verdict in this video gets rechecked monthly in the label report, and the link is below. That is 9 brands. 9 cans on your shelf with the same quiet trick. Not one of them will tell you the ratio. Not one of them will print the percentage of Robusta on the label because no regulation requires it. The cheap bean goes in, price stays the same, and the word blend does all the legal work. But here is the ceiling. 5 brands made different decisions on the same shelves, at the same freight costs, with the same access to cheaper beans. These are not leftovers from the bottom of the pile. Every one of them chose to use only Arabica, and to say so openly, even though blending would have made them more money per bag. They gave up margin so the label would be true. Ranked on two things: whether the label matches the bag and whether the price justifies what is inside. Number 5. 8 o'clock coffee. The original. 8 o'clock. Coffee has been around since 1859. That makes it one of the oldest continuously sold coffee brands in the United States, predating the Civil War by 2 years. The name comes from the original company's suggestion that 8 o'clock, morning or evening, was the perfect time for a cup. For most of its history, it was the best-selling whole bean coffee in America. Today, it is a quieter name on the shelf, but what is inside has not changed. The original blend is labeled 100% Arabica, and the ingredient list confirms it in one word: Arabica coffee. Their Colombian peaks, their dark Italian espresso, their entire core lineup carries the same designation. 8 o'clock sources from Latin America and East Africa, and their master roasters select specialty-grade beans across those regions. A 12-ounce bag of the original retails for about $5 to $6, depending on the store. That works out to roughly 42 to 50 cents per ounce. Compare that to Folgers Classic Roast, which runs about 30 to 35 cents per ounce. The difference is roughly a dime per ounce for a product that is genuinely 100% Arabica versus one that is now majority Robusta. Over a month of daily coffee, that gap is about $3. $3 a month is the distance between real Arabica and a blend that does not disclose its ratio. 8 o'clock has been using 100% Arabica for over 160 years. They gave up the margin advantage that blending would have provided, and they never switched back. You can find them at Walmart, Kroger, Target, and most major grocery chains, usually on the same shelf as Folgers, at barely more per cup. Same aisle, different century, and the brand behind it has been making the same choice since 1853. Number 4. Gevalia. Gevalia was founded in Gävle, Sweden, in 1853 by a man named Victor Theodor Engwall. For over 170 years, the brand has sourced 100% Arabica beans from growing regions around the world. That claim is printed on every bag they sell in the United States, and it is confirmed by their parent company, Kraft Heinz. If that name sounds familiar, it should. Kraft Heinz also owns Maxwell House, the brand we just finished talking about. Same parent company. Two completely different decisions about what goes in the bag. Gevalia slow roasts its beans and snap cools them to lock in flavor and aroma. Their lineup includes a traditional roast, a bold dark gold roast, and several single-serve options, all labeled 100% Arabica. A 12-ounce bag of Gevalia runs about $7 to $8 at most grocery stores. That is roughly 60 to 67 cents per ounce. You are paying a modest premium over budget brands, but every ounce of what you are buying is the bean the bag says it is. The fact that Kraft Heinz can sell Gevalia as 100% Arabica while simultaneously selling Maxwell House as a blend tells you everything about how these companies make choices. They know exactly what the difference costs. They could make Maxwell House pure Arabica too. Gevalia proves it. They simply chose not to, because the Maxwell House customer is expected to care about price and the Gevalia customer is expected to read the label. That is the calculation. Gevalia chose to keep its beans honest, even inside a parent company that profits from the alternative right next to it on the shelf. A yellow can that has been sitting on New York kitchen counters since the 1930s earned its place here for the same reason. Number 3. Chock Full O' Nuts. Chock Full O' Nuts started as a chain of nut shops in New York City in 1926. When coffee prices dropped during the Great Depression, the founder, William Black, converted the shops into coffee counters where a cup cost a nickel. The brand has been roasting coffee commercially since 1932, and the distinctive yellow and black steel can has barely changed in 9 decades. Today, every product in their core lineup is made with what the company calls premium Arabica beans, and their 100% Colombian spells it out even more explicitly. The cans are still recyclable steel, which keeps the coffee fresher longer than bags. Their heavenly coffee positioning is old-fashioned, but the beans back it up. A 23-ounce can of Chock Full O' Nuts original original retails for about $8 to $9, which works out to approximately 35 to 39 cents per ounce. That is less per ounce than Folgers Classic Roast. And Folgers is majority Robusta. A brand that uses 100% Arabica costs less per serving than a brand that cuts its coffee with cheaper filler. The math does not support the argument that Robusta blending is necessary to keep prices low. Chock nuts proves it is a choice, not a requirement. They are also owned by Massimo Zanetti, the same company behind Yuban and Hillsborough, which makes this even more revealing. The parent company knows how to sell 100% Arabica at a competitive price. They do it with Chock nuts every day. They simply do not bother with the other brands they own. Where to buy it? Any major grocery chain. The price per cup works out to roughly 6 to 8 cents for a standard mug brewed at home. The brand at number 2 turned 100% Arabica into a nationwide standard and then proved the grading to back it up. Number 2, Dunkin' Original Blend. Dunkin' does not just claim 100% Arabica. They go one step further. Their coffee is voluntarily graded by the Specialty Coffee Association of America, and it carries a grade of 2, which is the SCAA's second highest classification, premium grade. Competitors in the budget and mid-tier aisle do not submit to that grading at all. Dunkin' put it on the bag. Their beans come from Central and South America, and the company works with the Rainforest Alliance to verify that the sourcing is ethical. A 30-ounce canister of Dunkin' Original Blend runs about $12 to $14 at most retailers, which works out to approximately 40 to 47 cents per ounce. For that price, you are getting certified premium grade, 100% Arabica beans from traceable origins. Compare that to the Maxwell House can sitting right next to it on the shelf. Roughly the same price range, but one is graded, Arabica verified, and origin transparent. The other made a promise in 2007 and quietly walked away from it. Dunkin' also discloses that their coffee comes from specific growing regions. Central and South America is broader than a single origin label, but it is more than what most grocery brands offer. When a company names the regions and subjects itself to third-party grading, it has less room to substitute or blend without getting caught. That is the difference between a brand that uses its label to inform and one that uses it to decorate. You can find it at Walmart, Target, Costco, and most major chains. A standard mug brewed at home costs roughly 7 to 9 cents. This is not the cheapest coffee on the shelf, but it is the most credentialed mid-price option you can buy. The last brand on this list costs less per cup than almost everything we have talked about, and every bag is specialty grade Arabica. Number 1, Kirkland Signature. Kirkland Signature is Costco's house brand, and if you have a membership, this is the coffee aisle you should be walking down. Every core Kirkland coffee product is labeled 100% Arabica. Their K-Cups, organic and fair trade certified, state it on the box. Their whole bean bags confirm it. Their ground coffee confirms it. Multiple products in the lineup are also certified organic and specialty grade, meaning they have been evaluated and scored by coffee professionals before they reach the shelf. What separates Kirkland from the rest is the price and who has been behind it. Until early 2024, several Kirkland coffee products were custom roasted by Starbucks. The packaging said so right on the bag. Custom roasted by Starbucks Coffee Company. When that partnership changed, Kirkland continued sourcing from specialty grade roasters, including Green Mountain Coffee Roasters, to keep the quality where it was. A 2.5-pound bag of Kirkland Signature Medium Roast costs about $14 to $15 at Costco. That works out to roughly 35 to 38 cents per ounce. That is cheaper per ounce than Folgers Classic Roast, cheaper than Maxwell House, cheaper than nearly every blended brand we covered today, and every ounce is 100% Arabica. The argument that pure Arabica is too expensive for an average household falls apart right here. The largest warehouse retailer in America sells specialty grade, 100% Arabica coffee for less per cup than brands that cut their beans with Robusta. The only thing between you and this coffee is a Costco membership. At $60 a year, the savings on coffee alone cover a good part of it. Kirkland did not just earn the #1 spot. It removed the last excuse for settling for less. Every formula on this list can change by next quarter. A brand using 100% Arabica today can quietly reformulate tomorrow, and the only thing that changes on the shelf is what you cannot see. The label report rechecks every verdict each month and flags recalls before you shop again. Scan the code on screen or use the first link below. $10 a month, cancel anytime. Go annual, and 5 months are free. Just want the method? Both guides are $15, one time, same link.